Hello everyone, my name is Mandi Lynn. I am the author of the young adult novel Essence and historical fantasy novel I Am Mercy, and today we're going to talk about how you can get your self-published book into bookstores and libraries. So one of our favorite things to do as authors is to actually see our book in bookstores. You know, we like to be able to walk into a bookstore and just see it sitting there on a shelf waiting for a reader to pick it up. Unfortunately, if you're a self-published author, this can be a very hard thing to accomplish. When you're traditionally published, your publisher does this for you. A lot of book sales come from bookstores, but when you're self-published, it's usually online sales, most of the time ebooks. Today I'm going to go through how you can get your book out into the wild through Barnes & Noble, indie bookstores, and libraries. Barnes & Noble is easily the hardest store to get into because even if you are able to do a book signing there, you aren't able to put your book on the shelf to sell. If you do a book signing, they will sell your books that night, but when you leave, you have to take whatever books that didn't sell. And even to do a book signing is a very hard thing to do. It took me 2 years of pestering before I got into Barnes & Noble. Sometimes it's about knowing the right contacts. If you guys would like to hear how I was able to do events at Barnes & Noble, let me know in the comments below and I will create a video. I actually did a little vlog for my first signing at Barnes & Noble, so I will link that down below if you guys want to watch it. Your best bet for selling books in bookstores is an indie bookstore. Indie bookstores are your best friend because you're an independent author, they're an independent bookstore, they love working with local authors. So not only can you do the usual book signing and other events, you can also put your book on consignment. This is when they agree to have your book in store, they'll agree upon a certain amount of time, and if that book sells within the time, then you get a piece of that money, and then they get the other piece, and it's a win-win. The unfortunate thing with selling to indie bookstores is that they usually like to sell it at a discounted price, which puts you at a little bit of a loss in terms of income, and then they still need to take their cut, so it puts you even more at a loss. So when you sell to an indie bookstore, you don't really make that much money, but you do, get your book on a shelf, which is sometimes just rewarding in that, because then you can tell your friends, hey, if you go to this bookstore, you can buy my book. When you do have your book on consignment at a bookstore, there is a list of information that you want to keep for yourself, and I have my website blog post down below, and I have it all bulleted out for you guys, but the information you want to keep is the bookstore's name and address, the name of the bookstore owner and their contact information. You want your consignment agreement saying how long your book is going to be on consignment, what it's going to be for sale for, and what the price cut will be. You also want to keep track of what books you put on consignment and how many copies, and of course the date that you drop them off on consignment and the date you agreed to pick them up if they don't sell. Lastly, if you do put your books on consignment, always put them on consignment as signed books, because if a reader doesn't know what a book is, they're more likely to buy it if it's signed than if it's not, because if it's signed then they think it's special, and I for one enjoy collecting signed books, and I know other people enjoy it as well. Finally, our easiest option to get out into the wild is through libraries. Now keep in mind that libraries are for reading, not for selling books. With this said, you are not going to be selling your book to a library. I always donate copies of my books to a library, and I don't make money that way, but I do make readers, and that's all that's important. I like walking into a library and seeing that my book is available there if someone wanted to read it. At the end of the day, you can get your book available almost anywhere. The great thing about CreateSpace is that it has expanded distribution. That means if someone is at Barnes & Noble and they request your book, Barnes & Noble can order it for them. Unfortunately, they usually only order that one copy. The reason for this is because Barnes & Noble, if they don't sell a book, they will return it back to a publisher. However, they can't do that with indie books because indie books usually use CreateSpace, which is a print-on-demand publisher, which means they only print a book as someone orders it. So if Barnes & Noble, say, ordered 50 copies of Essence and they only sold 25, they would like to return the other 25, but they can't because CreateSpace is print-on-demand and they wouldn't take the books back. Barnes & Noble sees this as a loss of money, so they just don't like dealing with authors who use a print-on-demand publisher. Anyways, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys discovered some ways to get your books into bookstores, and as always, give this video a thumbs up, comment down below for any future videos you'd like to see, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.